few minutes, and I want to introduce you to Shelby Colman.
Well, Miss Rachel, thank you for that information. And churches, if you're interested in anything as far as parenting classes and things of that nature, just you can email me or Miss Rachel. I have some great information that we can get to you because our church is very big on family ministry. So we've got milestone classes and things like that that we can get you connected with so you can start doing that in your own church. But today I am here to talk about your ministry and your volunteers. And if you follow me on Facebook, right now my Facebook reads like a home improvement show. And we've been doing some major remodeling on a property that we're moving into, and it's been really chaotic. But the deal is we had it rented for a few years, and when our tenants moved out a few weeks ago, we went in thinking that everything was going to look okay, and we would just have to put maybe a coat of paint on it and do a few things. And on the outside, it looked great, and really on the inside, they had cleaned it really well. But as we started looking deep, we saw some roof leaks, we saw some black mold, and just some things going in. And then as we opened up walls, and we just kept finding just deterioration and trouble. And really the problem is the house had been neglected. And often that's what we do with our ministry. It looks great from the outside. We've got people coming in the doors, people are smiling. But if we start really looking in and listening and taking the time to evaluate and survey, we're finding that it's kind of neglected, and there are some things going on inside that we need to go in and take care of. So I brought a prop with me today, and if you know how I like those types of things. So I have this picture frame here, and I'm not sure if we can get it in the... But if you were to look sometimes at our ministry, just like when I looked in our house, we had vines and things just growing in the windows, and it was really bad. But so it really should have had caution tape and stuff on it. It was a mess. And what we need to do is start to take off some of the things that we can see from the outside and start to look on the inside. So often, if we look at this little window, one thing we find is our volunteers feel unappreciated. They don't feel valued. They don't feel that anybody cares about them. They think that they're just in to fill a spot, and then they go, and you're just happy that they're there because you don't have to do the ministry. So they need to feel appreciated, and you don't have to spend a lot of money to appreciate them. They love note cards. They love to just have you sit and talk to them and feel listened to and valued. Just to call them during the week or send them a text and say, hey, I'm thinking about you. That's huge. Little things like buying lifesavers and say, hey, you're a lifesaver. Every Sunday in our ministry, I carry a notebook around with me, and I'm paying attention, and I'm trying to write down things that my volunteers are saying. Even if they aren't saying it directly to me, I'm paying attention. So that way, during the week, I can follow up, and I can love on them. We appreciate them. We do meals with them, things of that nature. And like I said, it doesn't have to take a lot of your time. Just simple things to let them know that you care about them. So they need to feel, a lot of times they feel unappreciated. A lot of times, they're not serving in their sweet spot, okay? We're so anxious that if they're breathing correctly, we're like, here, we got a spot for you. Come serve in the children's ministry. And they may not even like children. Or come be an usher, and they really probably shouldn't be, they're not good enough. They aren't having the skills and talents in the place. Or maybe that's not what they really want to do. Maybe they really love children, and they're serving on the usher team just because you said that. You have to listen to your volunteers. You have to take the time and sit with them and hear where they want to serve. If they're serving in their sweet spot, they're going to go above and beyond, and they're going to make a greater impact in their area. So take time to hear their desires. Sit with them. We have a big process when we get a volunteer on our team. We sit down, we meet with them. They fill out an application, but I take time and I interview them for a good hour. I want to hear about their family. I want to hear what they like to do, even if it's stuff outside of church, like maybe they like to kayak and stuff. So I know, okay, they would be good maybe in a youth group, life group area where they can go out and hang out with a bunch of kids and take them kayaking. But just finding what their sweet spot is so that they can grow and do the best thing. And the cool thing is when they're in their sweet spot, a lot of times you're not having to worry about how long they're going to stay there. They will stay there, they will grow it, but then they will also draw other people in to help them out and build that team, which is also going to help you, but more importantly, help people be closer to Jesus and build a relationship with Jesus. So find their sweet spot. A lot of times when we have neglect, it's because they're disconnected. They're coming into church and you guys are all serving, but nobody's talking to them. Nobody's saying, hey, how are you doing? Or maybe the team can be kind of cliquish sometimes, or they just have a couple of friends and nobody's reaching out and pulling them in. A few months ago, I interviewed a lady who wanted to serve in children's ministry, and she flat out told me, I do not like people. I don't want to be around people. Let me hang out with the kids. They're okay, but I don't want to talk to people. I don't like people. Well, the cool thing is the first week she came to serve, and I really was like, I don't know how this is going to work. But our team wrapped around on her, and we loved on her, and so she was only going to come and serve maybe once or twice a month. But then I noticed she started coming every Sunday. So I was following up with her. Well, our team had loved her so much that she had such a good time coming to serve that she was coming. She felt connected. But then she was with her small group of kids one Sunday morning, and she shared with them how she did not like people, but God had changed her. And she was changed because she had gotten connected in the body of Christ. And through us loving on her, she was able to start liking people again, whatever had happened in her past. And she's now growing and serving, and she loves those kids, and she loves the people that are around her. And she has actually told us how much more encouraged she has felt. So make sure you're getting your people connected. Another neglectful thing is, and this is really important, they don't feel empowered. They don't feel that you've spent any time training them. They don't feel empowered that if a child or somebody were to come up and ask them to pray for them, that they could really do that. And so really, our volunteers, they're our hands and feet. And so we can't be everywhere all the time on our church campuses, but they're there. And so they need to feel empowered. They need to feel like they know that they can pray for somebody, that they have that in them, that God has called them. They need to have their purpose, and they need to know what they're doing. So we always train our volunteers. They come in after they've gone through our volunteer process. They do an orientation. But then even after that, we do quarterly trainings with them, and they could be anything from teaching kids, or it could be even safety precautions, but wanting them to feel empowered in whatever might come up on our church campus. We also do an event once a year where we do a volunteer training with all of our volunteers across our campuses, and they all come in, but it's really where they are feeling celebrated, and it's on a Saturday, and we spend all day where they can go to different classes and workshops, and they come in, and we've got hundreds of them that come, but we're just pouring into them. They can go to any breakout they want to, but they're getting training for any area of ministry, spiritual training, anything that they would like to do, but we want to make sure that they're empowered to do the ministry that God has called them to do. And then we always, every quarter, do a special event called Infuse, where they get the sneak peek of what's coming up next in our ministry. So we have a big party for them and celebrate them, but they're going to get the 411 before anybody else in our church. So then they're empowered to go out and share the next big thing that's getting ready to happen, or the next cool event, or what God is doing at our church. So do those types of things and help empower them. So here are some ways as pastors and ministry leaders that we can help to make sure that our volunteers aren't neglected. So I have here, you probably can't see it too well, but it's a picture of scraping off some paint and stuff. So sometimes we have to remove some things that maybe it looked like it was working. Don't be afraid to change what you're doing in the ministry. Don't be afraid to remove things, to fix some things up, to make it better for your volunteers and to make sure you aren't neglecting what's going on in there. Another thing we can do is we definitely, and oftentimes we do not do this very well, because who likes the word evaluate? All right, it's stressful. Your boss tells you you're going to have an evaluation, and you're thinking, oh, they're going to point out all the negative. Well, no, an evaluation, you need to do that so you can evaluate where your ministry teams are. Survey them. Talk to them, ask them, and look and see. And once again, don't be afraid to change what's not working. And don't be afraid to listen to them, because they're going to see a lot more than you're going to see from the outside. And so they're going to be able to tell you some things that are going on. So listen to your volunteers, evaluate what's working, and being willing to switch it. Another thing we need to make sure that we can do is remove what's not working. I spoke about that a little bit ago. Remove what's not working, and this is key. I said earlier, make sure your volunteers are in their sweet spot. But if they're not, help them find their sweet spot. So say you're in student ministry and you have a volunteer that's really probably better to serve maybe in hospitality. Don't say, well, I know I need that volunteer, they're mine. No, be willing to help them grow, because where they're planted, they're going to grow and they're going to thrive. And that's what we want to see. So help them see where they're best utilized, or listening to them, and be able to not just remove them from that particular ministry, but say, hey, let me help you get connected where you're going to thrive and serve best. So being able to evaluate, see what's not working. Don't be afraid to remove some things to fix some things. It's all good for the growth. We had to remove some things for our house to make it better and healthier for us to live in. And that's the same thing with our ministry. And finally, you want to make sure that you are restoring. You want to make sure that you're restoring. And that means volunteers, they need to make sure that they are being fed. Full things fill things, so help to restore them, making sure that they're keeping filled spiritually. Every week I do a huddle with our team before we get ready to go, and I'm pouring into them spiritually. If there's a book that I think is really good, I'm buying it, saying, hey, you want to check this out. If there's an article that I'm reading that I think would benefit them, I send it to them. But making sure you're helping them to stay restored. And in situations where they've maybe had a bad season or things have gone on, you want to help them and restore things with them. And you want to restore your ministry. Just like I'm restoring my house, and we had this window pane here that was just a mess a few minutes ago with caution tape and papers all over the place. You want to take the time to restore it and to bring it into what God has planned for it. So if I sit here and we do all of these things, and we're cleaning up and we're scraping off all of the stuff, and we're evaluating and removing what's not working, and we're not afraid to do that, then what you're going to find underneath your teams, and when they're feeling like they're in their sweet spot, you're going to find a team, and like I said, you're not going to see it too close here, but what we have here is, if I were to clean this really good, we have one of my volunteers who was just lonely all the time and everything, and she's sitting here serving at one of our events, smiling, and she felt that she has never had a family like she's ever had before until she's been to our church and with our group. You've got a team that's going to go out in the community, and they're going to make an impact and share the love of Jesus and to bring them into your church. You've got a team that's working together and connecting with each other, and not just building relationships that are going to be inside the church, but they're building life outside the church. And then you're also going to be able to reach the next generation and bring in some student volunteers and to help them grow and serve in their sweet spot as well. And the big deal is creating a culture of volunteer appreciation. And so a couple of things that we say in our ministry is, it's a privilege to be on this team because God has chosen us to do this. It's not something that is tedious. It is not something that, oh, I have to get up and go on Sunday mornings. No, it is a privilege. I get to drive in an hour every Sunday morning to go and minister to people an hour away from my home. It is a privilege to be able to do that. It's that culture. Create a culture with your volunteers and with your ministry teams that it's a privilege to be called to do what we're doing. And also, it's a get to, not a have to. So we get to do all of these things. We get to color with kids. We get to come out next Saturday and build sets or whatever it is. It's a get to, not a have to. And so you want to make sure that you're taking care of your team so that they can then be Jesus to those around them. And I really want to encourage you to do this. Remember to look at yourself first. Don't neglect yourself first. Oftentimes, we find that as leaders and as pastors that, okay, we're called here, Jesus will take care of it. No, we have to be looking inside of us first and being willing to say, what is not working in my life? What am I neglecting? And making sure that we are full of Jesus and full so we can then pour out into those around us. So right now, what I want you guys to do, you've been sitting for over an hour in your party boxes. I don't have the set that looks like yours, but you guys have some sunglasses in your party boxes that say Go Team. And as we are talking about our volunteers, I want you to go out this week and just really celebrate, honor your volunteers, and remember, Go Team, because you're out there to make an impact for Jesus. Thank you.